So what tattoo needles to use and when to use them? Hey, welcome back. As always, for anyone that's new to this channel, I'm Ben Fisher, the owner and tattoo artist right here at Inkbrush. So what needles to use and when to use them is a huge question that many new artists want to know the answer to, and that's exactly what I'm going to cover in this video. So before you start a tattoo, you need to choose a selection of needles to get the job done. Now, depending on the style of the tattoo and the finished effect that you're looking for, depends on the needle types that you choose. I'm going to quickly go over a few pointers for the most common needles. Now, please, if you're unsure of the different needles, then please check out my other video that covers all the different needle types and how to identify them. Also, bear in mind while watching this video and in the future when you're choosing which needles to use, that there's no right or wrong needle to use, and each creates a different result, which means it's down to your artistic taste which needles to use and what style your tattoo will be in the end. So I'll quickly go through the basics and most common uses for different needles. So first is the lining needles. Now, as it says on the tin, these are most commonly used for lining. The bigger the lines, the bigger the needle grouping, the smaller the lines, the smaller the grouping. Now, they're used for when you want a solid defined edge, because the needles are angled towards each other and go to a point. So as they enter the skin, the ink is concentrated in a small location. So that's what they're most commonly used for. However, what else is a lining needle good for? Well, because they're really small and they've got a really small tip, they're perfect for getting into those really small areas of shading. For example, when I'm doing a portrait, I'll often use a small 3 lining needle to complete the entire eye, including all the shading. And there's some tattoos that I complete the entire tattoo from start to finish and only use the 3-liner needle. These types of tattoos are often referred to as a stipple technique. This is a really enjoyable way of tattooing, which I'll cover in huge detail in my online tattoo course. If you want a free taster of course, go check out my playlists. Okay, so next family of needles are the round shaders. Now, when talking about needles, I want you to think of painting your house. If you're painting a large wall, then you'd use a roller. If you're painting a small intricate area, then you'd use a small brush. Tattooing is exactly the same. You want to use a needle that is best suited for the job. I mostly use round shaders to shade in them small areas, or if I want to try and make an area look textured. Another thing that you can use round shaders for is lining. Now, what this does is give you a softer edge to line compared to a liner, and that's because the individual needles go straight in and out instead of going to that point like the previous lining needle. I also know some artists that use a round shader to do the majority of their tattoo, even shading or colouring the larger areas. Like I said at the beginning, there's no right or wrong thing different needles are used for. It's about trying different things to get different results and effects and deciding which method and needles you prefer. The next family of needles is Manx. These are by far the most versatile and most used needles across the tattoo industry, and for good reason. You can almost use these needles for anything, from getting super smooth, soft shades to using the corners of the needle to get into those smaller areas when shading. You can even use them at a slight angle and create lines. Again, these come in tons of different sizes and gauges, and I cover all the different needles and techniques on using them in my online course that you can go watch by going over to my creative playlists. The main point that I want you to take away from this video is that every needle doesn't just have one role. Play about with different methods and different needles to create different effects. Find what works best for you as an artist. There's no right or wrong. And please, if you're new to tattooing, please do not be scared of getting out some practice skins and just grabbing a few different types of needles and having a play about and see what different effects and results that you can create from them. Don't ask yourself, what needles should I be using? Instead, ask the question, what effect am I trying to create? No two artists will tattoo the same way or use the same needle choice. So please don't focus on imitating other artists and use the needles that you find most comfortable. Thank you for watching. As always, don't forget to hit that thumbs up and leave any feedback in comments. Also, if you want to become part of Ink Rush community and help the channel grow, then naturally hit that subscribe and notification bell. Thanks again, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.